Norma. And it's a wonderful book, and Joan is in there, and I'm in the first interview there, and we tell a lot about what went on during the blacklist period. Stan. You know, Joan, I read in the book that you worked with Walt Disney. Can you tell us something about Walt Disney? Because there's a little story I read, and you can tell us a great deal about it, when one of Walt Disney's aides came up to you and asked you what you were. Can you tell us what that was about? Joan. Before I was married, I had a rather distinctive name, Lacour, Joan Lacour, and so people automatically assumed it was French, and there was no question about what other elements there might be. But as Joan Court, people would say, "What was that?" And I hadn't prepared for that, my ethnic background. So at one point on the stairs from Walt's office, his top aide came down and said, "Well, we need to know what you are." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, Scottish, French, whatever." And I said, because I knew that Walt was anti-Semitic, and among other things, anti-trade unions. "Well, I'm mostly French, but I'm this and that," and said, "And I'm 1/8 Jewish." Couldn't resist it. But working with him was pretty intimidating, he wanted to be called Uncle Walt, but people froze against the wall. Stan, but you worked on Beethoven with him. Was that a film or a documentary? Joan, it started out with leftover Fantasia footage with Mickey Mouse, and he asked for some research on it. I guess he didn't know about Beethoven. And when he saw it, he said, "Oh, this is an hour television at least." Well, it ended up being 2 hours, and it was released in Europe as a feature film. Norma, I think it's awfully important for people to understand that there were many women screenwriters at the time, many who were blacklisted, like Joan and me. One of the others was Marguerite Roberts, who had been at Metro for many years and had one of the top salaries in Hollywood, and she was called in to Louis B. Mayer and told, "Just in 1 minute, we're going to take your name off of Ivanhoe. Sign this, saying that you're willing for us to do that, and we're just going to give you your money for that, and that we want you to get off the lot immediately." And she never worked again. And there were many who were not yet as successful as Maggie Roberts, like Bess Taffel, many, many others. And for them, it was much harder than for the men, because it was really the beginnings of their career, just as it was for mine. I only had a few credits, and I went off to Europe. Nobody had ever heard of me. They had heard of Ben. We had many credits, and then he kept on writing and had more than 35 credits, even without the pictures that he didn't have his name on. But my experience was that it was hard to get a job, and my passport was lifted. I couldn't travel. I finally had a film shooting in Italy, but couldn't go to it while it was shooting, because I had no passport. That was Luxury Girls, a United Artists release. The man who directed it was Bernard Vorhaus, and they put an Italian's name on him, even as the director, because Bernard Vorhaus had been named. They put an Italian man's name on as being the author of the screenplay, even though I had written the whole screenplay alone. It was made at Cinecittà in 1953. It was a beautiful little film, and I think it went to the Edinburgh Festival. But we haven't been able to get a copy of it, because if we do, we can get it to the San Francisco Festival in the spring, and they're putting my name back on it as sole screenplay author.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.